Hello, my name is Ariel, like the mermaid, and this video is about religious abuse. So, what do I mean by religious abuse? What I mean is when someone forces their religious beliefs on someone in an abusive way, particularly an emotionally or mentally abusive way. So, this most often happens by parents in how they force beliefs on children. Now, I think that it's fine for a parent to raise their child with certain religious traditions, and I think it's fine for a parent to take their kids to church, just in general, and to teach them their religious beliefs and certain religious customs. I think that's fine, but there's a certain point where it becomes abusive. And the thing that a lot of religious people don't understand, they think that everyone, and I find like particularly Christians seem to have this belief that a lot of Christians, not everyone, seem to have this belief that everyone like can just choose to believe in God. But in reality, that's very presumptuous of them. And I think that a lot of times these people, certain religious people, tend to assume that everyone's minds work exactly like theirs do, which is not the case. Just like religious people who persecute homosexuals, they have this mentality that it's like that, oh no, of course, everyone is really straight, you just, are confused. Maybe they have a different mind. How do you know how the fuck someone thinks, And similarly, religious people assume anyone can just choose to wholeheartedly, can just go like snap, and then suddenly they wholeheartedly believe in God. That's not how it works, Some people, you don't just choose what you believe. You can't just choose to suddenly wholeheartedly believe in the existence of a higher power. And people sometimes just aren't wired to believe in certain things, which is understandable, because there frankly isn't any evidence that God exists. There's no evidence that is undeniable proof that there's a higher power, that there's a God. So the idea that you can just force your child to believe something, even if they just don't naturally believe in it, is just really twisted, because you can't just make yourself wholeheartedly believe something. So, I mean, I think it's great if people are raised in a faith and find that they strongly do believe in something, but a lot of it is very abusive, because when you grow up in a faith that is very strict and very much believes, teaches you to be ashamed of any doubts you have about the existence of God, any doubts you have in the religion. If it teaches you to be ashamed of that and feel guilt about not sharing religious beliefs that you're taught to believe in, that is abusive. And it makes you have to, and I know this from being raised in a religious family, it makes you have to do mental gymnastics where you trick yourself into believing something that you don't naturally believe in. And you have to be like, when you start having a doubt, like you start being like, I don't think that, like the whole thing, like the crucifixion makes really any sense. You just, go like, no, doubt. If I don't believe in this, I'll, go to hell. And that's another, I think that religion that is solely based on, it uses, that really just relies on fear to make people believe in it. That just in itself is horribly abusive, and it just creates a horrible emotional thing. And religions that shame you for having certain sexual desires, any religion that uses shame, guilt, and things like that, it's bad, and it's not healthy for you, and it just creates a really vicious cycle. So again, I don't think it's bad to teach your children your religious beliefs, and take them to church. But if they have questions about it, and if they start to have doubts, and if they start to form their own beliefs, you shouldn't shame them for it, and you shouldn't guilt them for not believing what you believe, because that's how minds work. We're all different, and it's an unfair expectation. I think you can expect your kid until they're like an adult. You can say, okay, well, you know what, you have to come to church, you have to do certain things. I suppose that's reasonable, but when it comes to actually, you can't just demand that your kid actually believes in something. That's just ridiculous. You can't just change, I can't just go like, oh, like, I mean, if someone tells you, oh, you have to believe in Santa Claus, like, how would that feel? Like, if you suddenly had to force your mind to wholeheartedly believe in Santa Claus, it'd be fucked up, right? It's this exact same thing. If someone just doesn't, there's nothing wrong with having religious beliefs, but if someone people's minds all work differently, and some people are just not meant to be religious, and are not meant to be, are not wired in a way to believe in a higher power, and that's perfectly fine. Some people's minds are wired in a way where they really rely on a faith, and they really rely on this belief in a higher power, and it does a lot of good in their life. That's awesome too. And there's some people that aren't really sure about whether there's a higher power, and sometimes they do believe in a higher power, sometimes they're a little bit unsure. That's fine too. And I don't know, this idea that everyone has to think the same way about faith and about God and about religion, it's just not a healthy attitude to have. And I just wish that some of these religious people would recognize that a lot of their behavior is abusive. And yeah, I'm not just exaggerating. It is abuse if you are making a child fear going to hell when they're just for not believing in something that they aren't just wired to believe in. That is abuse to do. That is, it's not it's abusive. It's abusive. It's instilling fear, and it's instilling shame and guilt on a child, and it's not helpful. And shaming them for having just desires or something, or or wanting to do something, making them feel like that they're less of a good person for, like, I don't know, if they're attracted to someone of the same sex or anything, or because they want to dress a different way. Things like that, you have to understand, it's abuse. It's not just, it's not, that's where freedom of religion should end, is when it becomes abusive. You should have the right to believe whatever you want religiously. But when it's another person and I think you should be able to teach your religious beliefs, but you shouldn't be able to make someone feel shame and guilt just because, I'm not saying like maybe that we should pass laws or anything, but I'm just saying, if you do that, if you guilt a child, or you guilt anyone, or shame anyone just because they can't believe in something, you're a terrible person. Basically is what I'm saying.